we just had our first encounter with another dog, right? Dog was in for reactivity issues, and it was a mess. She's like, he was reacting. I tried correcting him, and it didn't stop, and blah, blah, blah. And it was just kind of like a disaster, right? Yeah. And anytime, it's normal that we get those texts first week post board and train, because again, like we talked about, what is it and what isn't it? The board and train did not eradicate the dog reactivity issues. Yeah. The board and train established the communication so that when I walk the dog, I could ensure that I coach the dog through not reacting, and it will be fine. Exactly. Right? But it doesn't just eradicate that problem, right? So I was like, all right, well, we ironically had our follow-up session scheduled literally the next day. So I kind of coached her through a couple little things via text, obviously. And then I went to do the session the following day. And this is a key thing for trainers right now, right? So I was like, all right, we're going to go for a walk right now, right? I met her at her house. She was right around the corner from the facility, and that's where a lot of her problems are arising, right? So I met her at the house. I was like, we're going to go for a walk right now. So we went outside. We went for probably like a 45-minute walk, right? We're walking, and I was like, I mouth zipped, right? I wanted to just watch and see what she was doing. And sometimes this is an important skill, I think, for trainers to do, especially if you have a client that is, and she's wonderful, right? She's super nice. She was not like judging or anything like that, obviously. Like, oh, the training didn't work. She just wanted to make sure she was doing things right, obviously. But I think to some people, they're trying. You know what I mean? It's not like she wasn't trying. You know what I mean? Like, she's trying to work with the dog, but she was having these issues, and she was getting discouraged because she's like, I feel like I'm doing things wrong, but like I feel like he's not figuring it out or whatever, Yeah. So I was like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to just, I was like, we're going to go for this walk, and I'm going to just watch what you're doing, right? And I just started watching her, right? And, beginning of the walk, it's all right, right? It's pretty good, right? We're walking. He's walking pretty nicely with her. No problems or anything like that. Get a little bit further. He starts getting a little bit looser with things, right? Get a little bit further. I see a dog. I was like, all right, we're going to go walk by this dog, right? Turn the corner, right? We go walk straight towards this dog. She's walking head on towards this dog, right? Just right?
Okay.
And then she gets right next to this other dog, and her dog starts kind of reacting a little bit, and she kind of pulls him away with the leash and keeps walking. And I told her when we started the walk, I was like, I want you to do whatever you would have done normally, right? Whatever you would have done over the last couple of days with him, let's watch how you're doing this, right? So we get by, and I was like, all right, well, I was like, what do you think about all of that? I asked her.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, I don't know. I mean, like, he still reacted, obviously. I don't know. Like, I feel like he still kind of reacted. It wasn't as bad as the other day, but like, he still reacted. I was like, okay. I was like, well, so this is why I wanted to watch. I was like, I already see the problem, right? I already know exactly what the issue is here right now, right? I was like, throughout the course of that was probably an elapsed 25, 30 minutes, right? Up until that point. I was like, over the course of that entire 25 to 30 minutes of a walk that we just did leading up to the dog, there was not one singular bit of information that was given to the dog, right? Absolutely no. And again, I want to clarify. This is not judging, right?
Yeah.
This was the coaching side of things. She needed to realize where the issue came from.
Yeah.
Right. And in order for me to show her where the issue came from, I couldn't micromanage her the whole time throughout the walk. I needed to allow her to make the mistakes, and then at the end point out those individual mistakes so she could become aware of them, so that when we started the walk again and she made the adjustments she needed to, she could see how much better it was.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I was like, there was zero direction given at all. I literally don't think she said anything to the dog the entire time. And in her fairness, I told her, I was like, in your fairness, I was like, the first 5 to 10 minutes of the walk was pretty good. I was like, he was walking nicely with you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's not like he was pulling her all over the place or anything like that.
Yeah.
But what I saw is after 5 to 10 minutes, he just got like a little looser. Right? And a little looser, right?
Yeah.
And kind of pulled over to sniff a little bit. And then she's walking up to the dog, and she's kind of making the mistake of, again, head on. It's not that you can't walk past another dog, but there's something to be said about, like, if two parties are walking like this and you're going, it's like if Josh is a dog and I'm a dog and we're walking, we're just like, And we're just getting closer and closer and closer and closer, right? It's just allowing all this conflict to kind of build up and stuff like that.
Playing a game of chicken.
Yeah. I was like, so first and foremost, I was like, we have to give direction from the start. I said, dog reactivity, right? One of the hardest behavioral issues that clients struggle with, that trainers struggle with, et cetera, right? It starts before you see the other dog, right? It starts well before that, because if you're letting little things slide, you're not giving direction, this, that, the dog is on their own on the walk. I'm on my own, right? 20 minutes goes by, dog's on their own. They're making their own decisions. They're doing what they want to do. Then you see another dog, right? You're still not giving direction. You're still not coaching them through things in any way. And then you wait until they're totally freaking out because they're on their own and they're insecure and they need to react to defend their territory in this situation. And then you try to correct them. The dog is going to be like, fuck you. You haven't told me what to do at all this entire walk. And now, when I'm protecting myself, you're going to try to tell me not to do that? You can go fuck yourself. Is exactly what's going on that dog's head. Because one of her things she said was like, he started freaking out. This is what she said in the text message. He started freaking out, and I corrected him, and he took the correction and then just kept freaking out. I was like, yeah, he didn't believe you. He said, fuck you. You're not going to tell me not to react at this dog right now, right?
Yeah.
So whatever. So I coach her through a couple things. I coach her through, first and foremost, understanding positioning on the walk and expectation on the walk is so important here right now, right? What does that mean, right? That means a lot of people skew initially. We talk about our come command, which is our heel position, essentially, right? It's a position, right? There's an expectation of where the dog should be with us, right?
Yes.
It needs to be in our bubble, right? In our bubble does not mean in a 7-foot radius bubble. It means basically touching us in that immediate, like, 1-foot bubble of us, right? So a lot of people misconstrue that still because the leash is so psychologically like, I got to control the dog with the leash. They misconstrue that as I hold the leash short, and when there's tension on the leash, I correct. So they're setting their criteria based on the leash, where they should be setting their criteria based on the dog's positioning, right? And I explained that. I was like, well, because she said that to me. She's like, I was like, all right, well, what's your expectation? When are you correcting? She's like, well, he never hit the end of the leash, which is why I never gave any direction. I was like, well, you're holding your leash. It's like 6 foot right now. I was like, we don't want him to be 6 foot all around you at this point, right? And I want her to hold it 6 foot, obviously, but she needs to be looking at him, not at the leash, obviously, right? Yeah. Because what if he was on a 30-foot leash? If that criteria that she had set in her mind was accurate, that would mean he could be within a 30-foot radius of us, a 30-foot bubble of us, which is definitely not the case, right? So we need to be looking at what the dog is doing and pretending the leash isn't even there, right? Our positioning is staying in our bubble, right? So right off the rip, we need to give direction for that criteria. The second thing we need to do, obviously, right, is we need to be, I told her, I was like, because we find ourselves in this boat sometimes level-wise on the e-collar as far as where we're giving corrections. We'll, like when we're walking and there's no dogs around, dog makes a mistake, gets out of position, that will correct it maybe like a 20, right? Little 20 there. Hey, don't do that. Hey, don't do that, right? And then we see the other dog and we go up to like an 80, right? And it's this huge stark contrast of like little consequences, don't really care, big consequences, right? Where we want to treat it all as the same, even playing field. Those little mistakes, if we're more firm on those little things and we're at a 70 and 80, which in his case, I think he was at like an 85 for the little mistakes, and he was like, whoa, I don't like that. He fixes behavior very, very quickly. Then he's already really believing that mom is in control right now. So when you see the other dog, you've gotten even a little bit more leverage, right? Second thing, with the pass by, I told her, I was like, you got 2 options as far as how you can do a pass by with another dog. I was like, but you have to have a clear routine as far as how do I pass a dog, right? Option number 1, if you have the space to do so, is you could keep walking, but you have to arc around, right? So person, we're walking this way, dog's coming this way. As soon as I see the dogs on that kind of head-on, looking at each other thing, I break off, right? And when I break off, I want to see, does my dog keep going straight because he's locked onto that other dog, or does he break off with me? And if he doesn't break off with me, boom, big correction for that. Big correction for that. Hey, you need to pay attention to me. Before the explosion ever even happens, before he even thinks about exploding at the other dog, as soon as he's like, I'm concerned about that other dog, we're breaking off, he doesn't follow, boom, big correction for that, right? That immediately then shifts that attention, and again, starts before the reaction. That's us proactively getting our dog out of that state of mind. Now, this is not the same as we've talked before, we talked on the Blake podcast of correcting for loading or anything like that. It has nothing to do with that, because loading is not a mistake. Loading meaning the arousal picking up, right? Loading is not a mistake. The mistake is he was starting to load, and because he was starting to load, he didn't pay attention and realize that I was shifting off path, and he was no longer paying attention to me, and he was no longer following me. Big correction for that, right? So that's proactively getting him past it, right? And then you do the same thing as you make your way around, right? The second option is you could pull and create as much distance as you can, and you can put your dog into a stationary position and enforce that very firmly as well.